We're getting ready to talk about how to add and subtract fractions. But before we can do that, we need to talk about how do we find the least common denominator between two fractions. So we need to talk about what does that mean to find the least common denominator. Well, the least common denominator between our two denominators that we have here on the screen, we have 18 and we have 24. To find the least common denominator, and we abbreviate that LCD, we want to find the smallest number that 18 divides evenly into and that 24 divides evenly into. So 18 has to be able to fit into the number, and so does 24. And we want to find the smallest such number because when we work with smaller numbers, there tend to be less errors. So again, here's our definition of what a least common denominator is. The LCD of two fractions is the smallest number that both original denominators can divide into evenly. So because both of the original denominators have to be able to divide into this number evenly, we know that the least common denominator has to be at least 24 for our original problem. Let's go back and look at that. So it cannot be a number that's smaller than 24 because if I used a smaller number, 24 would not be able to go into it. Okay, so now we have to talk about how do we find the LCD. And one good way to do that is to take each of our original denominators and find the prime factorization. Remember that from our greatest common factor video? What number goes into 18? Well, we know that 18 is even, so 2 goes into 18. 2 times 9. 2 is prime, so we're done. And 9 factors as 3 times 3. All of these are not prime, so 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. 24 is even, so 2 goes into it. 2 times 12. 2 is prime, so we're done. 12 is 2 times 6. 2 is prime. 6 is 2 times 3. And now we're done here. So 24 is 1, 2, 3. There's 3 2's and 1 3. Okay, so to find the LCD, then we need to take a representative of each factor, and we kind of need the highest. So here's what I mean by that. 18 has 1, 2 as one of its prime factors, but 24 has 3 2's. So the LCD of 18 and 24 will need to have 3 2's. Because if it didn't have 3 2's, 24 would not be able to divide into it. Similarly, 18 has 2 3's. 24 only has 1 3 as a factor. We're going to need to take the highest, which is the 2 3's. Okay, so there's our LCD. We took the 3 2's from the 24, and we took the 2 3's from the 18. And now when you multiply all those together, you get 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then 8 times 9 is 72. So the least common denominator of 18 and 24 is 72. Now check. Does 18 divide into 72? Does 24 divide into 72? Well, yes it does. 4. And 72 divided by 24 is equal to 3. Okay, in our next problem we have 3 fractions. So we have 3 denominators, 15, 9, and 5. And we want to find the least common denominator between all 3 fractions. Okay, again we're going to factor. 15 is 3 times 5. 9 is 3 times 3. And 5 is prime. So 15 is 3 times 5. And 9 is 3 times 3. So for our least common denominator, well, we know that we need 2 3's We can't use just one 3 because then 9 will not divide into our least common denominator, so we need 2 3's. And we know that we're going to need 1 5. So that is 45. 45 divided by 15 is 3, so that checks. 45 divided by 9 is 5, so that checks for both of these. So 45 is our least common denominator. Now let's take it one step further and let's change all of these fractions to have our common denominator. So we're going to change all of these denominators to 45. Well, we know that 15 times 3 gave us 45, so we're going to multiply the 4 also times 3. Whatever we did to the denominator of this fraction, we're going to do to the numerator so that we keep an equivalent fraction. So this can be 12. We know that 9 times 5 is 45, so we're going to multiply 2 by 5 to get our new numerator. We know that 5 times 9 is 45, so we're going to multiply 3 times 9, and that gives us 27. So here are our 3 fractions, all represented with common denominators, ready to be added or subtracted depending on the problem.